Hello. That's how he sometimes greeted the night city when he went out onto the roof of his penthouse and pressed the phone to his ear, listening to the wind howling over the Hudson. Markian Grinovic, a guy from a provincial station on the world map who became the face of the American dream. His company Horizon Motion sold millions of autopilot licenses for city vans. The commercials painted a future without accidents, without fatigue, without fear. That night, he wasn't afraid either, until a sharp call from a lawyer. "Markian, are you sitting down?" Her voice cracked. "There's a video. Autopilot. Accident in Brooklyn. 1 dead." Everything inside him fell apart. He felt his body separating from his thoughts, and his thoughts from his words. Only one question: why now? A clip appeared on the screen. A black van, an empty street at 4 in the morning, an intersection, a pedestrian with a paper bag. A moment. A thud. Silence. And in the comments, an avalanche of slander. #HorizonKills. "This is a single failure," he whispered to himself. "We tested thousands of hours." But an hour later, a second piece of news appeared. An anonymous letter with insider information. The system knew about the error in the night module. It was hidden so as not to break the contract with the city. The letter was signed K. Nickname? Even earlier, rumors had called that the fund advisor who made money on falling stocks. Markian called his brother, Ilya, who ran the operations department. "Tell me it's fake." His voice was a request and an order at the same time. "I wasn't hiding anything," Ilya answered too quickly. "These are competitors. In the meantime, let's turn off the night mode. Temporarily." In the morning, a man in an old jacket appeared in the lobby of his office. He held a photograph in his hand of a boy with a soccer ball. "My brother is that pedestrian," he said calmly, almost coldly. "If you knew and kept quiet, I will make sure the whole country hears." The guards carefully led him out, but the strange man's gaze remained in Markian's pupils like a scar. At home, Avery's wife touched his cheek. "Tell me it wasn't you. Tell me your people didn't sell their consciences for a quarterly report." He hugged her, but couldn't answer. The emptiness between his heartbeat and the word grew. "This will pass," he convinced himself. "The numbers will protect us." However, when the garden lit up at night with the blue lights of the cameras, and the inscriptions "blood in the code" appeared on the facade of the office, he realized this was not a storm. This was a new gravity. And at that very moment, an internal log file, without a sender address, fell into the mailbox. "Check 314. You are not ready for the truth." He clicked. A jagged line flashed on the graph, a manual edit of the parameter. The author of the changes was Il_. The system's handwriting, his brother's login. And the world he controlled, like screens in a conference room, suddenly slipped from his hands. The following days were like a slow fire, when smoke is already creeping into the rooms, but the fire is not yet visible. The city department suspended contracts. The stock exchange opened with a red tinge of panic. The sponsors were the first to turn away. Those who shook hands on stage yesterday, today sent statements about re-evaluating the strategic partnership. The press spoke of the culture of aggressive deadlines at Horizon Motion, and every review from Glassdoor suddenly became evidence in the case. Ilya's name flashed in the texts, signed the release despite the warnings of the engineers. "I need the truth." Markian clutched the phone again and again. "Did you touch the night module?" "Listen," my brother laughed nervously. "If I'm guilty, everyone's guilty. You too. You wanted the contract. You wanted a truck on every street. You set the bars. I just kept the pace." That word, "you too," hit harder than the headlines. As children, they shared an old computer and their grandmother's blue blanket. As teenagers, their first startup in the garage of a rented house. As teenagers, their first investment, standing in the rain and laughing like crazy. Could he have forced his brother to sign something he hadn't seen? Was there real betrayal in his silence about quality after release? The lawyer said officially, "Don't admit anything. Comment as little as possible." Avery asked not to lie. The engineers demanded an independent commission review of the code. And secretly, new enemies appeared. The Kestrel Fund openly bet on the stock falling. In Twitter threads, they posted fragments of correspondence with managers who pushed the release. When the SEC began a formal investigation, the bell from Washington rang like a gunshot. "You're going to have a hearing," the voice on the line said. "And it's going to be public." That same night, he found a note from Avery in the kitchen drawer. "I'm taking Mia to her mother. We need some air." Markian leaned his hands on the counter and cried for the first time in years. Not from fear, from the feeling that he no longer controlled anything. Not the market, not his own house, not even his own name, which now belonged to the headlines. In the morning, the board of directors voted to suspend him. They said for the duration of the investigation, but in their eyes it was forever. His brother didn't show up for the meeting. The lawyer whispered. He signed an agreement to cooperate with the investigation. Ilya. His heart sank. Against whom? Formally, against unidentified persons. Informally, the hall emptied, and in the silence his phone lit up again. Check mail. Category, archives. There was an internal document from 3 years ago. Safe Night was the internal name of the night module. Note, problem vector, fog and glare. Rollout to Q3 subject to correction. Under the note was a foreign hand, to be postponed after the contract with the city. And the signature, K. Who was this K? A consultant? An investor? Or an enemy who knew the system better than him? In the evening, a video came to his phone. The same man in the jacket, the brother of the deceased, was standing in front of the news camera. "If this world sells life for KPIs," he said, "I want his name written on every board, so that he could see it before going to bed, so that he would know money does not erase blood." And then, for the first time, Markian felt how it was not his business, not his position, but his faith in himself that was disappearing. Because if somewhere in the code someone intentionally tweaked a parameter, why didn't he see it? Perhaps the greatest betrayal is the blindness he allowed himself. He came to the empty office on a Sunday, the fans whispering and the lights flickering like interference on the airwaves. He sat on the floor of the conference room, his laptop and old backups open. "Give me something," he whispered to the screen. As if in response, the door creaked. Anna came in, an engineer from the night shift, young, silent, with spiky eyebrows. "I know you've been suspended," she said, sitting down opposite him. "And I know what you're looking for. You won't find it in the official logs." "Why?" His voice broke again. "Because the log file is a scene, and the one who sets the lights is the one who writes the core dump. Here," she pulled out a flash drive. "I wrote an internal monitor for the night module to catch small drifts. It was my hobby. No one knew. The dump shows, between 312 and 314, the ghost patch algorithm entered the system. It replaces glare classes with noise. Fog for it is like a white corridor, and it is signed with a key that formally belongs to a consultant without access to production. Initials, KS. Kestrel," Markian exhaled. "The fund that shorted us." Anna nodded. "But that's not all. Ghost Patch wouldn't have made it into production without a local OK. The local token was issued by," she stopped, looking him in the eye. "Ilya issued it. Or whoever was in his office." The air became thicker. "Why are you me?" He was afraid of his hope. "Because I don't sleep at night either." Anna clutched the flash drive as if it might escape. "Because I saw you stop a release once to add 3 seconds to the reaction time in the ring. I almost got fired then, and you covered for me. And also, I have a brother in the trucking industry. I want autopilot to mean live." Together they ran the dump. Someone else's hands were in their house. The network connection map led to a server in Nevada, registered to a shell company. Their lawyers, of course, knew about Kestrel, but not about that. And Anna brought another detail. A printout from a UI Illustrators group chat, where the previous year they had agreed to touch up the error graph for a presentation to the city council. "Just a little bit, cosmetics," the emoticons wrote then. Someone had saved that chat out of resentment, and now it was lying on the table like a confession. "What do you want to do?" Anna looked straight at her. He was silent for a long time. 2 voices jostled inside him. "Save the company, play the game, buy time, and save the truth, even if it burns you." Finally he looked up. "I want to come out into the light. And if the light cuts me in half, so be it. But the world needs to see this flash drive." Anna smiled, not happily, firmly. "Then you'll need something else. Here's a letter. A journalist I know sent it to me. Senator T.'s private lobbyist, the same one who pushed for city contracts, had written to the Kestrel people a week before the accident. As long as you do your part, ours will provide the right questions for the hearing." She touched the edge of the sheet. "It's not just about the code. At the end of the day, Markian left the office not relieved, armed. And that was worse than guilt, because now he knew his battle was not only with his own blindness. It was a battle with the mechanics of fear, where profit hides traces and responsibility speaks a foreign language. He dialed his brother's number. "Ilya, we need to talk." And for the first time, without lawyers. They met in the empty gymnasium of the school where they had once voted for the local sheriff. The smell of nail polish and rubber mats brought back childhood memories. Ilya stood leaning against the basketball backboard, his eyes red as if from a sleepless night. "Did you come to finish me off?" he asked, trying to smile. "I came to save you, if that's still possible," Markian replied. "And to save those we dragged into this wheel. I know about Ghost Patch, about the K.S. key. I know that without the local token, it wouldn't have come in." Ilya closed his eyes. "They needed one thing, for us to fall at the right moment. I signed the OK for the test mode for just half an hour. They said it was a stress simulation. I thought we would break their game. And then I realized that the game wasn't ours. They threw it in production while we were asleep. Why didn't you say so?" The whisper was more like a groan. "Because I was afraid. I was afraid for you, for Mia, for our people. They showed me the letters, your cosmetics, in front of the city council. And they said, either you're with us, or we'll destroy him completely. I chose the wrong one." He raised his head. "Listen, I have a flash drive. There are letters. There are people who are ready to talk. There's a journalist who won't sell. But if I go this way, I'll lose everything. Money, reputation, the opportunity to get Avery back. And I could lose you if you don't come with me." Ilya stared at the floor for a long time, as if searching for an answer there. Then he put his phone on the table. "I'll go with you. But there's one condition. You admit your part. Your cosmetics. You're after the contract. Our cult of deadlines. Without it, we are the same." The next morning, before the hearing, Markian recorded a video address. Not a glossy one, a simple one, against the backdrop of an empty kitchen where a child's cup with a unicorn still stood. "I am Markian Grinovic," he said, "and I have not come to make excuses. I have come to acknowledge what I have allowed to happen. I have approved of better numbers when I should have insisted on better truth. I am the author of a culture in which convenience prevailed over transparency. I will pay for it, but I will also show how we were pushed to fall, so that someone else could profit from our fall. And I will name the names." The hearing room was buzzing like a beehive. He laid out the flash drive, the dumps, the letters. Anna sat a few rows behind, still as a lighthouse. Ilya stood up and seemed to have aged 10 years as he read his confession. "I allowed temporary access, believing it was a simulation. I was scared and kept quiet. I am wrong." Kestrel's lawyers tried to talk the procedure out. Senator T smiled coldly. And then Markian did the last thing left. He signed a waiver of any agreements, transferred half of his personal capital to the Victims' Compensation Fund, and announced his resignation as CEO forever. "All or nothing," he said into the microphone. "I choose nothing for myself if it means everything for the truth." In the hallway, a man in an old jacket with a photo of a boy on it intercepted him. They were silent for a long time. Finally, he said, "I have seen many liars. You are not the best of the righteous. But today you did something that you will not buy. I will come to meet with your fund. We'll talk about real things." And for the first time in weeks, Markian breathed in as if he had lungs again. 3 months passed. The city washed away the inscription, "Blood in the Code," from the facade, but the shadow remained in the memory. Kestrel was tried. Senator T announced his voluntary resignation. The investigation was ongoing. The world was still tasting the mosaic of motives and mistakes for a long time. The company survived without him, and it surprisingly didn't hurt. Something else hurt. The empty mornings without Mia, Avery's silence in joint correspondence, the hole in the middle where the statue of success once stood. He rented a small office on the outskirts, where the window overlooked not the embankment, but the playground. The compensation fund worked without advertising or banners, just payments, psychologists, scholarships for children who had lost their parents. Anna ran the black boxes for artificial intelligence program, open logs, algorithmic ethics, independent counsels with the right to stop releases. Ilya went to therapy, wrote long letters without exclamation marks. There was more of his brother in each letter than in all their presentations together in 10 years. One day Avery came to the office alone. She sat on the edge of the desk, looked at the boxes of stationery at the playground outside the window. "I don't know who you'll become now," she said quietly. "But for the first time in a long time, I see who you can be." "I'm not asking to come back," he answered honestly. "I'm asking to see Mia, and to be a person for you, not a headline." She nodded. "See you on Saturday." When they left, he was left alone and twisted the metal flash drive in his fingers for a long time, now empty. He felt its weight, like a talisman. Can you be rich and honest? The question buzzed inside him like a transformer. He understood it wasn't about the money. The point is that you build with their help, a wall between yourself and the truth, or a bridge to those who look at you. A letter fell on the table, an offer from an old acquaintance, a new startup, a clean slate, big investments, a return to the stage. He looked at it for a long time, as one looks at the shadow of a tree, not at the tree itself. Then he took a pen and wrote a response. "Thank you. I'll wait. I have another job now, to learn to live not for victory, but for the truth." At night, he climbed to the roof of the small office again. The city shone as brightly as the first time he said hello to it. Now he whispered something different. "I'm here, and I'm not hiding." The sky above him was clear and deep, like memory. He thought of that man with the photograph, of the boy with the ball, of Anna, of Ilya, of Avery and Mia. About all those whose lives were touched by the code he had assembled from dreams and ambitions. Which is more important, truth or success? He asked himself, and heard in response not thunder, not an orchestra, but the simple sound of his own breathing. The answer was not in words, but in practice. Tomorrow he would again go to the office without marble stairs. He would again sit with people who did not wear suits for 3,000. He would again make a choice in favor of a transparent pause instead of a lightning release. And perhaps one day the stage would call him again. But today it was enough that in the code of life he had removed the same parameter that he had once betrayed the world. Convenience above conscience. Somewhere over the rooftops, someone shouted joyfully. The ball had hit the goal. The child was laughing. He smiled. And under the noise of the city, he felt for the first time that his wealth was not in capital, but in the ability to look into the darkness and not lower his eyes.